Intel is talking to anyone and everyone that makes sense if they could save them, right, and help them get back on track. That's the way that sources frame it, at least, right? This is Intel approaching Apple and saying, would you like to invest in us? And then after that, we could talk about how we work together. I know that you guys don't necessarily always need the history lesson, but remember, for many, many years, Intel silicon went inside many Apple products, including phones until 2019. When Apple bought Intel's modem business and started doing that itself in-house. So just like the Nvidia scenario, they have a mixed history of cooperation, rivalry, tension. But I think that, the market's looking very much at this like Intel's trying to do something proactive.
Right. And Intel is part of the national fabric no matter what, even though they have given up a ton of market share and have struggled in the last 10 years or so. Lip-Bu Tan is the CEO of Intel. And originally, he drew President Trump's ire for not doing enough. And certainly there were questions about perhaps his potential conflict of interest because of his board seats at Chinese companies and all of that. And I might have gotten that detail wrong, but that's something that was pointed out. Yet the president now loves him, and he's kind of returning that by being the ultimate deal maker, or trying to be at least.
Well, on paper, as you say, Intel is what this administration in particular it seeks. American companies that are trying to do more of their operational footprint in country, onshoring, call it what you will. And the meeting that took place between the president and Lip-Bu clearly changed the trajectory of things. But let's be very clear. The reporting about Intel approaching Apple is our reporting citing sources. The deal for Nvidia to invest $5 billion into Intel and work on products, both of those CEOs, when I spoke to them, were unequivocal. The administration played no part in that. And what I would say is that Lip-Bu Tan is a known entity in Silicon Valley. He has decades of experience and relationships. He's also very close with Jensen Huang anyway. He knows people in Silicon Valley well. And that's something to bear in mind.
Why would Apple make an investment here? Would it be simply being a cynical Wall Street guy that I am, that it's just to ingratiate them with the government?
Why indeed?
Yep.
Yeah, why indeed? People I spoke to overnight are like, doesn't make a ton of sense because of the progress that Apple has made on its in-house silicon, be it the main processor or other components. Right now, Apple in lower level handsets has relied on Qualcomm for modem, right? RF chip. And in other cases, they're using their own. Intel's not really involved in that process. One idea might be like Intel could help them with packaging. So a part of Intel's business is like, they manufacture semiconductors, but they also just package stuff up, which is like low margin and not as exciting. So one hypothesis is that Apple might want to do some of its own stuff around servers, or like even on the Mac side, and Intel could help them with that kind of more mundane stuff.